Welcome to another episode of Wings of the Raven. I'm your host, J.R. Bloodsteel. Our story tonight was sent in by an anonymous follower who wished to share her experience and wanted to remind everyone that things aren't always what they seem to be. My story takes place 2 months ago while I was shopping for a birthday gift for my mom. For context, I'm a woman in her early 30s. I've heard different horror stories over the years about people having strange encounters with others, and while they alarmed me a little, I never batted an eye at them. I didn't think something like that could happen to me in my random city, but I was so wrong. It was a Friday evening, around 6 p.m. I had just finished a long work week and needed to take the time to do a little bit of shopping. I'll admit, I just wanted to go home and relax for the evening, but I was running out of time to get it done. Setting aside my desire for sleep, I dragged myself over to my local outlet retail store. They were only going to be open for another hour, so I had to be quick, but I also had no clue what to look for. The store was quiet, which wasn't unusual as it's not a super popular place, but, and I know how this sounds, it was almost too quiet. I didn't see an employee at the checkout, and no one was working in the clothing section, which was where I was focusing most of my attention at the time. Minutes passed without incident as I flipped through the racks, slowly losing more and more hope of finding something. I could feel my energy level draining further. It was at this time when I realized there was an older man sitting in the shoe department. This might not be weird anywhere else, but this place only sells women's clothing and shoes, and there was no one else around. Maybe he's here with his wife, I thought, even though I didn't see a woman anywhere. Of course, it's possible she was just using the restroom, which is what I resorted to. Turning back to the rack before me, I thought nothing else of it for the moment. I should have left right then and there, especially because I knew I wasn't going to find anything here that I wanted to give as a gift. But me being me, I didn't want to be a quitter, so I kept looking. I slowly moved from the clothing to the home goods and decor, minding my business. As I turned to go down another aisle, something caught my eye back in the clothing department. Glancing up, I saw the same man, now walking slowly around the racks, following almost the same exact path that I just took. There is no woman around him, and while I might be able to chalk it up to, oh, maybe he's shopping for someone, I couldn't help but feel the slight flutter of butterflies forming in my chest. As quickly as I saw him, I looked away and turned down the aisle, hoping this was all a giant coincidence. He was walking with a cane and didn't appear to be moving very fast. I moved from the home department to the shoe department, finally feeling a slight bit of comfort in knowing I'm hidden behind the tall racks of shoes. My new alarming thought was, if I do find something I want to get, there's no one at the register, so I would have to stand there waiting. It was like my mind had immediately switched into paranoid mode without my permission. My fight or flight had kicked in, and I was confused as to why. I was alone in the shoes. There was nothing going on, no reason for me to feel this chill that was beginning to creep up my spine. And then I saw him again. He was dressed in a dark gray t-shirt, baggier shorts, and wearing a ball cap. It had some sort of logo on it, but I'm not sure what it was. He was less than 15 feet from me, standing near the jewelry cases, staring directly at me. The rush of thoughts that went through my head ranged from, he's an older man, if he tries something, I could handle myself, to, I need to get out of here. I have never felt anything like that before. My pace picked up as I moved around the racks, no longer taking the time to look. I'm towards the back of the store. There's a good 70 feet from me to the front doors, and while I tried to remain and appear calm, my anxiety was starting to carry me. To exit, I would have to leave the small cover of the racks, putting me in direct view of this guy. A part of me wanted to run, but I digressed. Taking a hold of my purse strap, I began to walk as calmly as I could, hoping I wouldn't hear the sound of a cane tapping the floor behind me. I didn't, but that's probably because he wasn't letting it touch the ground. As I opened the front door, I suddenly felt the door being ripped away from my hand. I looked back and moved just in time to see the man directly behind me and had just barely missed him trying to grab my arm. In a matter of seconds, I instinctively raked my nails across his face, trying to go in for a slap or anything to make him leave me alone. I had finally screamed when his gray beard came ripping away from his face. To my absolute horror, this was not an elderly man, but someone who made themselves appear to be. Every single thought of, I can take him, flushed instantly out of my system, as well as the blood from my face. My sudden attack across his face left him shocked long enough for me to start running. For a minute, I didn't even remember where I had parked. Never mind the fact that my keys are still in my zipped purse. I didn't know if I could open it while running for my life. I parked closer than I had remembered because in the heat of the moment, my legs took me directly past my car and out further into the parking lot in hopes of putting more distance between myself and him. It took everything I had in me to look over my shoulder, and when I did, I saw the man running a full-on sprint after me. I cried out loud for help, screaming for anyone who might hear me. The parking lot was basically empty, besides a few cars parked here and there. I used to run track in high school, and while I didn't take it all too seriously, I was one of the fastest people in my group. All those times I had spent complaining about running brought me to this point, where it might have been the only thing that gave me the hand on gaining distance from him. We're literally running circles around this stupid parking lot. It's a dog and cat fight. Finally, grabbing my purse, I unzipped it and shuffled around for my keys. When I found them, I frantically started pressing the unlock button on the fob. I had a good 20 feet gain on him, which gave me just enough time to get to my car, rip the driver's door open, get in, and lock it. Right as I rammed the key into the ignition, he barreled into my door, causing me to scream out as I heard him trying to open the door. I knew the doors were already locked, but I pushed the lock button again, just in case, as I looked over at him in a panic. There was blood running down the right side of his face, and it was only then I realized my left hand was bloody too. I don't know what part of his face I had ripped the skin from, but I still see that sight in my nightmares from time to time. His eyes were black as the night, his beard was completely gone and was probably lying in the parking lot, and he had a look of rage I had never seen on someone before. I quickly shifted into drive and floored the gas, tearing from the parking spot and hauling to the exit road as fast as I could. I didn't even stop at the stop sign. When I got home, I called the police to let them know what had happened. I knew by that point the odds of them ever finding the guy were slim, but I thought it would be good for them to know in case something like that ever happens again. I should have called on my way home, but it was the last thing on my mind at the time. They never did find him, and I also still don't know why there were no employees around at the time. Had there been, maybe he would have been caught. But regardless, I made it home, and I later found something for my mom at a completely different store on the other side of the county. About a week later, I heard that a woman had been abducted from that same parking lot. The only thing they knew for certain was the man had a beard. Don't think it can't happen to you, because it certainly can. Do you have a true horror story you would like to share? Email me at WingsOfTheRaven.Podcast@gmail.com and it might be featured on the podcast. Thanks for listening. Stay safe.